All right, let's talk about something we all use every single day. Something that holds our photos, streams our movies, and basically runs our entire digital lives. I'm talking about the cloud. But what if I told you that for all we hear about it being everywhere, it's not actually in the sky at all? Let's dig in and find out what, and more importantly, where it really is. I mean, just think about it for a second. When you're binge watching a show on Netflix, or you save a file to Google Drive, or you see your photos magically pop up on all your devices thanks to iCloud, yep, that's the cloud. It's like this invisible engine powering our world. But how can something so important be so vague? And here's the big secret. The cloud isn't some mystical, weightless thing floating above us. Nope. It is a very real, very physical thing, with a history that goes back way further than you'd probably guess. I'm talking all the way to the dawn of computing. To really get it, though, we first have to solve a little language puzzle. Okay, quick grammar class, I promise. Remember the word homonym? It's a word with a couple of completely different meanings, like the bark of a tree versus the bark of a dog. Same word, totally different things. And believe it or not, this idea is the key to unlocking this whole mystery. That's right, the cloud is a classic homonym, and this is where all the confusion comes from. See, its first meaning is really just a metaphor. Way back when, network engineers would draw this little puffy cloud on their diagrams to stand in for the messy, complicated internet. It was basically their shorthand for a bunch of complex stuff happens here. But the second and much more important meaning is the model for how we get services over that internet. So it's a nickname and a new way of doing things all at once. No wonder we're all a little confused. So to really understand that second meaning, the one that changed everything, we need to jump in our time machine. And we're going way, way back. Before the internet as we know it, before most people even dreamed of having a computer at home, a few brilliant people were already sketching out the future. Now just look at the date on this slide, 1961. This is absolutely wild. A computer scientist named John McCarthy basically predicted that one day, computing power could be sold just like electricity or water. You just plug into the wall, use what you need, and get a bill for it. I mean, what a revolutionary idea. But the technology to make it happen, it was still decades away. So, how did we get from that wild idea to where we are today? Well, the journey started back in the 50s, with these gigantic computers called mainframes that took up entire rooms. The first real breakthrough was in the 60s with something called time sharing, which, for the first time, let a bunch of people use one giant computer all at once. This was the birth of sharing computer resources. And then, in 1969, visionaries like J.C.R. Licklider helped create ARPANET, which was kind of like the great-granddaddy of the internet, bringing his amazing vision of an intergalactic computer network one huge step closer to reality. So the idea was there, and the network was starting to get built. But there was one more huge technological leap that had to happen to make that dream of a computing utility real. And honestly, this is the secret ingredient that makes the entire modern cloud work. And that secret ingredient has a name: virtualization. It sounds complicated, but it's really this incredible bit of software magic that allows one single physical computer to pretend that it's a whole bunch of separate computers, all running at the same time. This concept right here is the absolute bedrock of cloud computing. So here's how the magic trick actually works. You start with one really powerful physical server. Then you add this clever piece of software on top of it called a hypervisor. What the hypervisor does is slice and dice that one machine into dozens of totally independent virtual machines. And here's the cool part. Each one of those virtual machines has no idea the others exist. It thinks it's its own separate computer. This is how you get incredible efficiency. It's how these huge cloud companies can serve thousands of different customers, all using the same physical hardware. Okay, so all the pieces are on the board, right? The big idea existed, the network was growing, and this key technology, virtualization, was ready. But it took a brilliant business move from a really unlikely place, an online bookstore, to turn cloud computing into the global giant it is today. The year is 2006. Amazon, which had built this insanely massive and efficient computer system just to run its own website, has a light bulb moment. They thought, hey, we've got all this extra computing power just sitting here. What if we rented it out? And so they launched Amazon Web Services, or AWS, offering raw computing power and storage to anyone, anywhere over the internet. You just paid for what you used. John McCarthy's public utility was finally here. And this basically created the three main flavors of cloud services that we have today. Down at the bottom, you've got Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS. Think of this like renting a plot of land and a pile of bricks. You get the raw building blocks, the virtual servers and storage, and you build whatever you want from scratch. A step up is Platform as a Service, or PaaS. This is more like renting a fully equipped workshop. The space and all the heavy-duty tools are there. You just bring your project and start building. And then at the very top, you have what most of us use every day, Software as a Service, or SaaS. This is the finished product. No building required. You just open it and use it. We're talking about things like Netflix, Google Docs, or Slack. So we know the history, we know the technology, but now it's time for the biggest reveal of all. We're going to peel back that puffy cloud metaphor once and for all, and look at the actual physical reality. This is it. This is the big one. Because once you understand where the cloud really lives, you will never think about the internet the same way again. The answer isn't up in the air. It's down here, on the ground. The cloud lives on Earth, inside thousands of massive windowless buildings called data centers. And all of these buildings are stitched together by a mind-bogglingly huge network of cables lying on the bottom of the ocean. Forget the pyramids or the Great Wall. This is the largest physical thing humanity has ever built. 1.5 million kilometers. That's the length of the fiber optic cables that are connecting the continents right now, under the sea. I mean, just let that sink in. We have this image of our data zipping through satellites in space, but the truth is 95 to 99% of all international data travels through these cables, most of them no thicker than a garden hose, just resting on the ocean floor. That is the physical internet. That is the cloud. So when we talk about the physical cloud, we're talking about these key parts. First, the data centers themselves. These are basically giant warehouses packed with millions of buzzing computer servers. Then you have the enormous cooling systems needed to stop all those servers from melting, which, by the way, use incredible amounts of energy and water. You've got that undersea cable network we talked about, stitching it all together. And finally, there's redundancy. Your vacation photos aren't just in one place. They're probably copied in multiple data centers, maybe even in different countries, just to make sure they're always safe. So once you realize the cloud is this massive, physical, resource-hungry thing, it really changes how you think about our digital world, right? It's not this infinite magical place. It has real-world limits and very real-world costs. It's pretty amazing to think about. It went from a thought experiment in the 1960s to the invisible backbone of our entire civilization. The cloud now powers literally everything we do. It's what makes remote work possible, it's what's training the next generation of artificial intelligence, and it's what's safeguarding our most precious memories. So, the next time you save a photo or stream a movie, just take a second and remember where it's really going. It's not floating up into some ethereal mist. It's going down, through a cable on the ocean floor, into a real building full of servers that are getting hotter by the second and chugging water to cool down. The convenience is absolutely incredible, but it isn't magic, and it definitely isn't free. And the really big question we all have to start asking is, what price are we willing to pay to keep it all running?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.